I'm doing you need that you should think of the expressions, that you should think of the as a quantifier, think of the as a how many term. Another thing is, suppose you consider how you explain the meaning of a general term. Suppose you get a child, or someone intelligent who understands English but who just doesn't yet know what the meaning of the term is tall is. How do you explain it? I mean, in general, you don't explain the meaning. Sometimes you can explain the meanings of terms by definitions, but that's not always or even usually how you explain the meaning of a general term. So if I'm right here and you're right before me and I'm saying to you, well, what does that mean, is tall? I keep using it as an example, but I actually have no idea what it means. Then how would you explain the meaning? Well, one thing you could do is to say, well, look at the room. Someone is tall. Or you might say, look at this room. None of them are tall. Many people are tall. None of that is going to help. You can't, in general, explain the meaning of a general term by putting quantified expressions in. If you want to explain the meaning of a general term, and if you want to explain what red means, you can't do it by saying, oh, well, there are lots of red things. You've got to get down to specifics and say something about which things are red and which things aren't. The way you explain what red and what green mean is by saying, look, this one's red, this one's green, this one's red, this one's green, that one's not red, that one's not green, this one's red, this one's green. You take lots of examples. That's how you explain the meaning of a general term. So it is tall. You might go around the class and say, look, that's Tom, Tom's tall, Sally's tall, Daniel's tall, this one's tall, that one's not tall. You see what I mean? You could only explain the meaning of a general term by putting names into the slot and giving examples using the names. Keep running the names through the slot in the expression. So if you're going to explain the meaning of a general term, you need names. I don't mean to be saying anything very controversial here. I hope this is sounding like common sense. Yep. That's right. You can do that by saying, let's suppose you're trying to explain to me what red means, right? And you take some set theoretic description of the class, yeah? And you say, well, if you take the union of these two sets and the intersection of that with this set, yeah, and eventually narrow it down to one, yeah, that's red. Yeah, so someone's wearing red. Yeah, now that may be true, but the thing is, that's not going to help me until I say, oh yeah, there's exactly one thing meaning all those conditions, and that's red. I don't know yet until I can say, oh, it's, you don't mind me pointing, it's that one. Right? You see, once I got either that, then I'm in business, and I'm out of the set theoretic thing to clue me in. The set theoretic thing on its own wouldn't help me. Yep. Sorry, there was someone else. What was that you? Yeah. I'm sorry, can you do that louder, please? Yes. It's not a name. I agree, it's not a name. It's like a name in that it has its semantic value by standing for an object. It's a little bit fancy because it does have that person in there. And you might say, wait a minute, that's a general term. What is that doing there? Yep, it would be perfectly reasonable. So the only thing is that we don't usually regard it as courteous to describe people as that. You can see what I mean? But yeah, well, he you can only use for people. You see what I mean? But to set aside courtesy in favour of purity, there you go. Oh. That is tall, okay? As John McCain would say, that one is tall. Yeah. Okay, last one. Yeah, that's how you tell someone what is tall means. You see a whole bunch of people, you say, look, that's tall, that's not tall. What? No, I mean, that has to do with feeding and genetics, and I suppose. It doesn't explain how you come to be tall. Yeah. What is the good? Yes. That's right. Well, if you take that example, explaining what the good is, yeah, that's a very special case. Yeah, but one view of it would be, it's like colour words. You can say this is red, that's red, that's red, that's red, that's not red, that's not red, that's not red. And when you do that, you've done all you can to explain the colour word. And if someone says, yes, but in addition, what makes something red? Well, there isn't really anything you can say there. You can talk about physics or something, but that's not what makes it red. Except in the sense that that's how you can construct something red. And similarly with good, there might not be anything general to say about what makes something good. If there is something general to say about what makes something good, like, it pleases the king or something, then yeah, it makes mom happy. But you might say, well, I have a general theory of what goodness is. That's fine, but that's in addition here. That's a quite special feature of this case. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so to explain general terms, you need names. You can't explain general terms with how many expressions. So if we take it for granted, then, that the meaning of a general term like wrote Waverley is explained by its use in sentences involving names, then we've got to understand how that explanation of wrote Waverley connects with other uses of the term. So what you do is, you first of all explain the meaning of red in the context, this is red, that's red, that's red, that's red, and then you've got to explain, well, how does that relate to someone wrote Waverley? Because anyone might say, look, you just explained the meaning of red or wrote Waverley in the context of sentences with names in them. But now you're going to say, someone wrote Waverley, and I'm aghast. You didn't say anything about that. You see what I mean? If you explain red to me by saying, look, this one's red, this one's red, that one's not red, that one's not red, this one's red, then, all right, now I get that, and I say, now you've explained the meaning of red as it occurs in sentences with names in them. But then you say, something is red, and I'm completely thrown. I don't know, what does that mean? I need a whole new explanation here. Well, the natural way to connect them, if you're going to say, well, how do I explain the relation of these how many sentences to the sentences with names? What I was suggesting last time was, you can read someone wrote Waverley as meaning there is at least one potential name. You can introduce a name, A, and then put in A wrote Waverley, and that comes out true. So if you explain is red to me by saying this is red, that one's red, that one's red, that one's red, and then I say, okay, I know what red means, and then you say something is red. Well, my way of interpreting that is to say that means there's at least one name that I could put in the red slot, and it would come out true. That's how I connect the how many term to the use of the names. On the other hand, you say no one wrote Waverley, what you're saying is there's no potential name such that such that A wrote Waverley is true. Or if you say many people wrote Waverley, what you're saying is there are many potential names, A1 and A2, such that A1 wrote Waverley, A2 wrote Waverley, and so on. So this is a picture on which names belong to the ground floor of language, and names are more basic than how many or quantifier terms. Quantifier terms are explained in terms of names. In order to explain general terms, you've got to have a rack of names. So how many terms come in a much higher level of language use than either names or general terms? So if we've got how many terms? We've got names, and we've got general terms. Then explaining how these work, the how many terms in particular, is relatively straightforward once we have Russell's analysis. But the real hard thing is how we explain what's going on at this more basic level. And now we can't appeal to descriptions in explaining what's going on at this more basic level. That leads us to Russell's conclusion: there's a basic class of names that gets tied up to objects, but not by being defined in terms of descriptions. So at this point, I think that completes the case for throwing out Frege and Sell on descriptions. How about that? Are there any remaining embers of dissent? That's a spirit, yes, right. Speak up.
Why can't we take like the innovation of descriptions in more basic case? And just so and Frege want to build names on descriptions.
Right.
So if descriptions just denote and we have an excess of that, even if it means like doing quantification, why can't that be based on case? We will name on top of that and sort of
Well, when you say descriptions are the more basic case, take the denotation of descriptions to be the more basic case. The two questions for you are you taking descriptions to be complex or simple? If you say I'm going to treat descriptions as if they're simple and explain their meaning just by hooking them up to a denotation, then that's just treating descriptions as names. Yeah, and that's not really any different to Russell's theory, because there you're saying, although it looks like you've got familiar words in description, they're not really doing any work. On the other hand, that's not an alternative to Russell. That's treating descriptions as names. On the other hand, if you say, no, descriptions are complex, and those individual words in them are doing significant work, well, if you accept Russell's explanation of what all those terms in them are doing, then the denotation of the expression is not basic. The expression has a denotation only because these general terms have already been explained and understood. Yeah? But for those general terms to be already explained and understood, they had to have been coupled up with names. Yeah? That was the argument I was just giving. Yeah? Okay. And so we move gloriously on. Okay. Just one last. This is just one last kind of slightly technical. There's a notion of witnessing that is kind of helpful to have sometimes. Suppose you say someone is F, then that can't be the end of the story. If you say someone is F, there's got to be it's got to be possible to name the thing that is F, right? You could say give it a name. So logicians call that witnessing. The statement someone is F, you witness it by saying giving a name. A is F, give it a name. And similarly, if you say there's exactly one X which is F and any Y that is F is also G, then you can say, oh, what's its name? You can ask for it to be witnessed. You can say namely. So since you can say namely with a definite descriptor, with a the sentence, there's always got to be that lower level. When you say the F is G, you can say, well, and which one is that, the F, and be able to name it somehow. So that's just, how should I say, rounding out the point that there's a class of names that's more basic than descriptions. So if there's a class of names that's more basic than descriptions, and they're hooked up to the world somehow, what does that look like? Well, we have these problems of informativeness and meaning without reference, and they're not going away. So how are we going to address them here? Russell says, so long as names are used as names, then Scott is Sir Walter is the same trivial proposition as Scott is Scott. So that's a really radical claim. He's saying with real names, true names, you cannot have uninformative identities. Sorry, you cannot have informative identities. Okay, let me take that from the top. So you might think this is Scottish Sir Walter could be informative, but if they're really being used as names, then Scottish Sir Walter is trivial. It's always uninformative when you've got names. And he turns it on his head. Take the idea that there can be meaning without reference. You can inquire significantly if whether Homer existed, but you couldn't do that if Homer were a name. Because if Homer's a name, if something's a name, then it has its meaning just by standing for the object. It's like that example of smudge I was giving, where the name has meaning just by standing for its object. So you can't meaningfully inquire whether the name stands for anything. That would make no sense. So since you can meaningfully inquire whether Homer existed, Homer can't be a name. It must be just some kind of descriptive phrase. Really, in ordinary language, no names occur. Names in the sense of this ground floor level of language, what look like names aren't really names. No names in the strict sense occur, but what seem like names are really descriptions. With the exception, and these are the true proper names, this or that, and a few other words, of which the meaning varies on different occasions. So what he's got in mind here is, suppose you take a term for a current sensation you're having, like a headache. Suppose you say, this headache. Could that term have meaning even though there was no headache? Well, it's characteristic of your own sensations that if you think they're there, then they've got to be there. You can't be wrong about that. Homer, out there in the concrete world, it might for all the world appear as if there's such a thing, but the thing not be there. In the case of your own inner life, if it appears as if a thing is there, then it's there. That's what your inner life is. That totality of ways things appear to you. And think about it with informative identities. I said an informative identity is when you can have two different takes on one and the same object. Now that makes perfect sense for a three-dimensional concrete object in the physical world. So you can have the table from this angle or the table from that angle. But suppose you take this headache, and I say, well, okay, I've got a pain in my foot too, or I've got an itch in my foot. Is that itch this headache? Well, in your inner life, these things are completely obvious. There is no such thing as being able to formulate an informative identity about your own inner life. So the problem of informative identities does not arise if the most basic class of names here is really a set of signs referring to your own sensations or your own sense data. When you ask, is this sensation of redness the same as this headache? That's always, if it's true, it would be trivial. If it seems like an exciting possibility, then it's not true. Properly speaking, names refer only to your own current or recent sense data. and it's your acquaintance with those sensations, Russell says, that fixes their reference. But look at the implication of this. When you or I, and you're just driven to this by these problems about informativeness, meaning without reference, and the analysis of descriptions, there is nowhere else to go at this point. But we are driven to the idea that each of us is interpreting the whole of our language in terms of their own sensations. You can never refer to my sensations, I can never refer to your sensations. There's really a strong sense in which communication between us is impossible, because you are ultimately interpreting everything you say in terms of your own inner life, and I'm ultimately interpreting everything I say in terms of my inner life. There's a very revealing, Russell gave some lectures on logical atomism in 1912, something like that. Question, if the proper name of a thing, this referring to a sense datum, varies from instant to instant, how is it possible to make any argument? I mean, your own inner life is shifting from moment to moment. And Russell says, well, you can keep this going for a minute or two. I made that dot, a mark on the board. I made that dot and talked about it for some little time. I mean, it varies often. If you argue quickly, you can get some little way before it's finished. I think things last for a finite time, or a matter of some seconds or minutes, or whatever it may happen to be. Question, you do not think the air is acting on that and changing it? Mr. Russell, it does not matter about that if it does not alter its appearance enough for you to have a different sense datum. So the key thing in your understanding of your own use of language is the sense datum. And it's only such stability as that has over time that your meanings of your language have over time. And it's only, in some very extended sense, that we can ever be said to understand each other. Okay, sorry, I went over time, but thank you for bearing with me.